Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello Scott.
Josh, a friend, I've ventured to the new office. It's a place that you might see at some point in the future. Who even knows when things will come together, but maybe across the rest of the year, 2022, we'll have to wait and see. Until then, it seems like every other game under the sun has also been pushed back till next year, so we thought we'd do a little bit of a rundown on every single thing that you might have been seeing this year that is actually going to be coming out in 2022, mainly because Evil Dead got pushed back as of this morning, and just kind of started making me think about, hold on, let's just actually run down every single thing that we're not getting anymore, because on the Sony side, with Horizon Forbidden West being pushed back, that's kind of Sony's entire output for this year just done. Like, if Xbox has Halo, but whatever. So we'll get to some stuff. There's about 12 key titles that have all been pushed back to 2022. The first one obviously being the Evil Dead game. I don't know if you're an Evil Dead fan, if you were keeping up with that.
Big Evil Dead fan. I was looking forward to this, like this was my, I don't want to say guilty pleasure game, but it's certainly not, a big AAA release. It's not a Horizon, it's not a Gears or anything of that caliber, but I thought it looked very, very fun from what we've seen so far, and I love Evil Dead, and I just want to team up with my friends and absolutely go to town on some Deadites with some chainsaws, with some boomsticks, have a good time. So I am a little bit gutted that this has been pushed out of 2021, to be honest.
The last one that I played was the the sort of the proper action third-person one on like the PS2, where it was like you played as Ash and you had like the chainsaw on the arm, the standard stuff. I remember that being a big old deal, but I'm not a massive Evil Deadsman, but I think that if you were a big Evil Dead fan, that's a big old thing. The next game down is actually the Prince of Persia remake, which had a hell of a trajectory, let's say. The initial footage that was shown was sort of met with a lot of us going like, that doesn't really look like you've done that much to it, because obviously with any sort of remake, any high-profile remaster, you're just trying to match the vision of that, or the version of that game in a lot of people's minds, and that's not what the remaster did. So they initially pushed it back. It was meant to release in January this year, got pushed back to March. Then Ubisoft said in February that it was delayed indefinitely, making people think that maybe it would resurface later this year or something. And then they got back out and said, actually, I think this was around about June, July time, it's actually been pushed to 2022. So we are still getting the Prince of Persia remake remaster thing, and they reckon that they're making good progress on it. But what do you think of the pop remake?
I think it makes sense judging by the reaction. Like you said, the game didn't look bad by any means, but I just think the bar, we said this at the time, I think the bar for remasters and remakes has been like raised by the likes of Crash Insane Trilogy, with the likes of Resident Evil 2, by the upcoming Dead Space, you know what I mean? And of course there is still a place for things that are closer to ports or remasters, but because this is being billed as a remake, there's a certain level of expectation there. And the fact that they're taking, this extended time, over a year, since it was originally supposed to come out to its potential new release date, like it does seem to me like they're going to be rebuilding a lot of stuff and making it more of a substantial reappraisal of the original rather than what we were going to see. And I think that should make people more happy than what we would have got this January.
It's such a weird trilogy, because I love the Prince of Persia trilogy, but the arc that trilogy took, where you had like one really fantastical game, Warrior Within had Godsmack's I Stand Alone as its main theme song, which teenage me was absolutely loving. That song's still pretty damn good. But then the third game, the whole Twin Sands thing, or Two Thrones, or whatever it was called, was all stealth stuff, because that was the stealth boom of the 2000s. So it's like, if you're going to put them all together again, there's a very volatile, let's just chase whatever's happening in the moment style direction to that trilogy, which I think is endearing, but I think I would question how that stuff works. I think for now, all they're doing is remastering the original one and focusing on that, so I guess we'll see how we go. Next major game, which was kind of inevitable, it felt like for a long time, is God of War Ragnarok, and considering how Sony revealed that stuff and talked about it, it always felt like they were going to push it back. We never got anything other than that original logo, that sort of like reel of just Ragnarok is coming, and then, Cory Barlog just sort of avoiding any conversation about it on Twitter, and then eventually it came out that it's actually going to be on PS4 and it's going to get pushed back to 2022. What's your thoughts on God of War in 2021?
I mean, I feel like when it was announced, Scott, I'm pretty sure you can go back to the video when we reacted to it being announced, and we said at the time, there's no way this thing is coming out in 2021, because it just seemed like so quick of a turnaround from the original game coming out in 2018, and the fact that, like you said, all we saw was a logo, we didn't hear anything for months afterwards. We don't even know the name, like we call it God of War Ragnarok, but Sony has clarified that isn't necessarily the title. It might be, but that's not even locked in.
Begins with S, ends with L, hard to say. What it could be.
Not this again. So I think this makes sense, and hopefully it'll be worth the wait,
Yeah. I mean, it's God of War. Like, it's going to be worth the wait. I mean, the thing is, every single one of these games, if they actually hit their 22 slate, is coming alongside everything else, the likes of Elden Ring, stuff that we've been waiting for a long time. There's God of War. The other one down is Horizon Forbidden West. We did a reaction video to that when it got announced that it was being pushed back. Any quick thoughts on Horizon before? Because we'll just push you to the video that we did. You can go check that thing out. You can check out all of our initial reactions to that. But do you have any updated thoughts on where Horizon sits?
I just want to reiterate for the place I'm coming from all of these delays is that, ultimately, if it's for the good of the game, if it's for the good of the developers, then that's okay with me. But with Horizon, there is a touch of disappointment there, because that was the big Sony game for this year. That was the big, hopefully, system shifter for the PlayStation 5, even though it is, built for PlayStation 4 as well. And that was kind of like their marquee title for the year. And with that and a few of the other games that we're going to get to pushed out, I still think Sony's had a good year, but they're missing that kind of holiday blockbuster release now that, I'm going to miss off the calendar for sure. But again, looking forward to that in the first quarter of next year, I think it is. Probably April.
Yeah, but there's a lot of them are just sort of like first quarter, second quarter next year. Some of the stuff like God of War is going to be like a big holiday release and stuff. But yeah, 2022 seems to be the year. 2021 continues to feel like a loading screen for 2022. But next game down is Ghostwire Tokyo, something that they showed off a little bit of gameplay footage of. Next IP from Shinji Mikami, so it seems like it is going to be this really cool action-focused thing, but then we've not seen a whole lot else from it. But it's like, in theory, had a very cool style. It was like first-person action combat stuff. What do you think of Ghostwire?
I forgot this was supposed to be coming out anyway, which isn't indicative of, kind of how excited I am for it, because I love the studio, like you said. I thought the trailer looked interesting, but it seems like it's had a kind of like troubled development almost. I know the original creative director, I think, left the project like a few years ago, and they've kind of retooled it since.
Well, there was like Akumi Nakamura came out on stage, and then she like immediately left the project. And I'm sure she was like a key role initially, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of, I just need to see more, I believe in the studio, but the trailers haven't necessarily fully sold me on it at this point. And like I said, I forgot it was even coming out, so this being delayed almost isn't even a surprise. It almost barely even registered. But again, I want to see more state of play or whatever's coming up.
Speaking of things that you might have forgot even exist, Hogwarts Legacy has been pushed back. I mean, I'm not a Harry Pottersman, so I never cared anyway, but if you're a Harry Potter fan, it's been pushed back.
Nor am I. I feel like this was one of the kind of big games right at the start of the year that was just immediately pushed. They were just like, right, there's no chance we're going to get this out this year. Why even pretend? Why even get to June to E3 and pretend that it's going to come out? Let's just push it. And it's like, yeah, cool. It's not necessarily, my thing, but I'm sure a lot of people will be looking
Bless
forward
little
to
Rich Hudson. He was looking forward to it. He's the biggest Harry Potter fan that I know, and sadly, it's going to be at least next year that game's coming. Another thing, though, that I completely forgot even existed is Lord of the Rings Gollum. That was meant to be coming out later this year. Little Gollum and his loincloth are coming in 2022.
I have long been a champion of this game, Scott Taylor. I don't know if it's going to be any good. I don't know if it's going to be even all that fun. I don't know why they're making a game about Gollum in the first place. I don't know why
you're so into it, mate, to be honest.
I don't know why I'm so into it. I think it started out as a gimmick. I think it started out as a bit of a joke, just like, Josh is into the Gollum game, but now I'm into the Gollum game, like, for real. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know I'm going to be there day one having a time of sorts.
If there is a loincloth skin pack, will you purchase it? $4.99.
Gonna have to ask me on the day if it's payday. Everything's off when it's payday. Everything's just fair game.
Different coloured bullet traces in Call of Duty. There's nothing not on that table. That's what I'm thinking. Next thing down is something that I'm looking forward to the most, which I've been looking forward to so much and such tunnel vision towards this game that I forgot it got delayed. Sifu, the follow-up to Absolver from the developer Slowclap, which is doing like a sleeping dog style martial arts focused like Eastern game, and it just looks so cool. I miss martial arts melee focused games like overall. Like I just completely miss that stuff. And Sifu looks like it's shaping up really, really well. I absolutely love the combat in Absolver, kind of like a martial arts version of Dark Souls, and it's really, really cool. And it seems like they've just taken all the lessons that they learned from that and put them into this more single-player focused thing. It's not this live platform. It doesn't seem to be this live platform where other players are coming in. It's more you playing as Sifu, going on this. I think it's like a revenge journey or whatever. And whenever you die, you just you get like scars and you age. It's not you don't actually like reset. You keep going, but it's can you get through the game in like the best condition possible. And they have all these really cool martial arts moves that interact with the environment. All these really cool high kicks and finishes and stuff like that. It's everything I love. It's everything I love about cinema and video games, and it just looks lovely. But that thing's been delayed until 2022. Did you see much footage of Sifu?
I did. Your excitement for it kind of rubbed off on me the first time we saw it. I think it was like last year or something. And I've been following it closely since, and I just think it looks sick. I'm just going to echo everything you just said. Everything you just said, I fully agree with. I think it looks awesome. I'm really excited to play it. I didn't know it was the same team that did Absolver, but at the same time, I've not played that game, so I don't really know what I'm to be expecting with this outside of what I've seen.
recommend it. Go check out Absolver. That game, I mean, not to spend half the video on Absolver, but that game has a really cool system where if you get a move used on you enough times, you learn it. So it's like you're encouraged to go up against people. And because everyone has their own little combat deck, you're building combat chains based on which cards you put together, like punch, punch, kick, high kick, roundhouse, whatever. If that gets used against you and it's a combat card that you don't have, you'll learn that move the more that you engage with the person who does. So you're encouraged to block it, counter it, learn that move in combat. It's so cool, Josh. It's the best.
I see, again, not to make this entire video about this one game, but I always see it when I'm searching the sales, when I'm searching, the library of games to buy. I always think that's got a good cover, and then never look at it more.
It's really, really cool. If I was gonna implore people to check out Absolver, if you're looking forward to Sifu, check out Absolver. It seems like some stuff would be quite similar. The next game down is something that I sadly have very little experience with, which is Vampire Masquerade the Masquerade. Bloodlines 2 rolls off the tongue, which apparently had quite a lot of developer problems. I know that the original game is a big old like cult RPG, first-person vampire sim, kind of like Elder Scrolls for vampires, I guess, in terms of the amount of different ways you can play it and stuff. I never played that because it was on PC only. Do you have any thoughts on the old Vampire Bloodlines, or shall we move on?
It's one that I've actually followed relatively closely, because it's obviously, like you said, it's had so many development issues and it's been delayed so many times that I've written about it so much just from the perspective of the trouble it's gone through, because it's missed so many dates. It's had a bunch of developer shakeups, and I was initially interested in it because I've not played the originals, but I know about their reputation, like they said, and this kind of more classic RPG stylings in this world always sounded very, very fascinating to me, and so I was excited about it. But at this moment in time, with so much going on behind the scenes, the proof's going to be in the pudding, man. Whether it's going to be worth the wait, whether it's going to be worth all of the money that's being pumped into it, whether it's going to be worth all of the aggro that's being pumped into it from the developer perspective. So I don't know when we're going to see it again. I don't know when it's going to come out. I don't even think it'll come out next year, but it's one of those that's just going to constantly be in development hell until it's not, and then we can finally decide ourselves.
All I will say is that my high bar for vampire games is Blood Omen 2, Legacy of Kain. Blood Omen 2. Me and my friends loved that when I was a kid, and I've never met anyone else who actually even played it, but that game was a very, very good vampire game. 3 more games left. One is Gotham Knight, the follow-up to the Arkham series. Continuing on from the end of Arkham Knight, but Bruce is obviously nowhere to be seen, and we're just playing as Nightwing and Batwoman and everybody else, and that seemed to be like a multiplayer take on Arkham, but they, Warner Brothers Montreal, then got back out and said, that's not what we're doing. You can play it single player, don't worry. Oh my God, please come back. And so I think that my general response was that initial wave of, you've injected multiplayer into this thing that doesn't need it. That was my thoughts, but that thing's been delayed until next year.
Yeah, 100%. I was, of course, wary about the, obviously it's not the Arkhamverse necessarily, but the Batman brand from WB and WB Montreal going multiplayer. But I like the fact that, and it's been a long time since I've read about this game because this was delayed quite a while ago, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's only 2-player co-op, it's you and someone else. I don't think it's a full 4. I think I'm right on that.
I think you are right about that, yeah.
If I am correct on that, I like that more, because that does to me indicate that it's going to be more viable to play as a single player game. And it's going to be, the proof's going to be in the pudding, but I'm not scared and terrified of it in the same way that I was looking at the previews of the Avengers, not to drag that thing back up. But yeah, I look at it and I think it's got some elements that I don't really jive with, but at the same time, I think it looks gorgeous. I think the combat looks fun, and I like the characters that they've got in there, obviously. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, the co-op, the bits where you teamed up with Nightwing as Batman in Arkham Knight and did the different co-op moves and the different double finishes and stuff were really cool. If you can make it so that you do more of them with one of your actual friends or something, that'd be kind of cool to sort of bring that stuff together. The last 2 games that got pushed into 2022, one is Gran Turismo 7, which I, again, kind of just forgot that was happening. It was actually the first PS5 game ever shown. If you go all the way back to 2015 or something, there's a little bit of footage of it. But what's your thoughts on Gran Turismo? I've long since fell off the Gran Turismo train. I'm very much a Forza guy these days.
Well, Scott, I was not really a racing guy for the longest time. I liked them when I was younger, but Gran Turismo, again, it wasn't my thing. I was more into Forza. I was more into, Burnout or Grid or something. But then I played Gran Turismo Sport and really enjoyed it, and thus was looking forward to a premier racing game for the PlayStation 5. However, I have soured on it a bit since, because there was that report alongside it getting delayed that it is also going to be coming out on the PlayStation 4. And from the reports I've read, I can't remember the exact one. It might have been Schreier, but don't quote me on that. But it seems like the decision to make it a PlayStation 4 game was actually a late one, and that might not hugely affect it, but that just kind of seems like a strange move to me to do so late in the game, because, you know, like Gran Turismo especially takes ages to develop it. It takes ages for them to pump one of these things out. We haven't had a proper numbered one in so long. So for it to not take full advantage of the new hardware perhaps, or for potentially to have to make concessions, that is a thing that I'm worried about in a way that I'm not worried about when it comes to God of War or Horizon, because it feels like at least those games were built on the PlayStation 4 first and then upskilled, where this seems like the exact opposite, where it was built on the PlayStation 5 and now it's getting maybe downscaled. I don't know, we need to find out more.
No, and I mean, it was literally shown off as one of the premier reasons to get a PS5. And like I said, it's the first piece of footage that was out there, like, you know, the whole conversations on 8K visuals and all that kind of stuff. And I would hope that they finish development on the PlayStation 5 version and then go, okay, how do we make this work on PS4, as opposed to it directly affecting development, and you end up with a version of the game that could have been prioritized towards PS5, like making it work on PlayStation 4, and that getting in the way of whatever vision they had in the first place. I would just hope that it's something that shows off the PS5. I want more stuff that does that, and it's not just 4K 60 patches for things from years ago, even though, you know, Sekiro looks beautiful. It depends what it is. But in terms of the last game for next year, though, Rainbow Six Extraction is the last thing that we had written down. Now, you played a hell of a lot of Rainbow Six Siege. Do you see yourself coming back for this?
I think so. Me and my friends have been talking about it for a while. You know, I always talk about how they had like a version of Extraction in Siege for a little bit. It was like this timed gimmick where it was PvE, there were a bunch of aliens, and it was fun. So to see that kind of like taken and expanded with the gunplay of Siege, from what we saw at the Ubisoft thing a few weeks ago, a few months ago, can't remember, time's a flat circle, I thought it looked really interesting. It's not one that's like I'm gagging for, but if it comes out in the right release window, when it doesn't have much competition, I'll check it out as kind of like a co-op shooter for sure.
It's weird because it feels like I thought it was a DLC when it had its original name. I think it was Quarantine initially. Like, that just felt like a mode. Like, it felt like something you would plug into Siege, i.e. Siege is the platform, and you plug other things into it. But then over time, it's like, oh no, this is like a full-on the next Rainbow Six game. And that's so far away from what I would associate with that brand. I associate, you know, the likes of Rainbow Six Vegas, or the older games where you're sort of procedurally going alongside like teammates, AI teammates, and, you know, like going room by room, clearing out a house or something. That really, like that old school, the Ghost Recon Rainbow Six era that we had on the 360. So I think that it's interesting them going down this route and just sort of going like, okay, we're sticking with Siege style online multiplayer mode stuff and make that what the brand is going forward.
Totally. I mean, I do think it is weird, but I feel like, you know, you've got Siege like continuing to grow, so why not make that more than DLC? Why not make it its own kind of like unique campaign that's hopefully worth the money? I mean, again, it is kind of like a weird sell. Like, I don't know how extensive this thing is going to be. I don't know. I don't even know the price of it. I don't know if it's like a budget title. I don't know if it's a full price title.
Do they even know?
Up in the air. I don't know, because it's like they haven't talked about it for so long. It's been in development for so long. Obviously, they had to change the name with the connotations with everything that's going on right now and stuff, so it kind of feels like they're a bit scared of it. It kind of feels like they're a bit worried about getting out and actually talking about it, maybe because it is so weird. But yeah, it's what I'm interested in, but like I said, there's a ceiling for my hype on it, you know what I mean? There's only so excited I can get about Rainbow Six Extraction.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, it doesn't really feel like they've nailed the marketing in regards to saying that it is the next full-on Rainbow Six. But let us know what you think down in the comments below. That's 12 full titles pushed from the rest of 2021 into 2022, alongside everything else that's coming across that year as well. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.